Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are all doing well and I hope we kept you entertained until now. Moving on to our final segment of awards, Contribution to Compliance Ecosystem 2020. This award is to honor those who have relentlessly worked towards contributing to a robust compliant ecosystem. Breaking away from tradition, this year we have not one but two winners in this category. The two awardees, in no specific order, are: the first awardee is a former Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, a position she served for 7 years, where she was actively involved in managing India's balance of payments crisis in 1991 that led to the first round of economic liberalization. Today, she is the chairperson of India's largest lender by market capitalization. She is the one and only Miss Shyamala Gopinath.
We are extremely proud of you for receiving this award, and you have been a great inspiration to us all. I've always looked up to you since I was a little kid, and I'm so happy for you, and I love you, IG.
I congratulate you on this award that you received today. Over the years, you have achieved so much professionally, but what really strikes me the most is your humility. And like Anirudh said, you are an inspiration and a motivation to everybody. Credit is also due to my father for the relentless support that he has given throughout your career. Congratulations.
Over the time I've gotten to know her, again, what strikes me is her humility. And it's for someone who has accomplished so much and had such a stellar career. She's so affable and so down to earth, and I think that is extremely rare to see.
In spite of all your achievements through your life, and we are very proud of you, and you were an amazing mom too, so you kind of did it all. And now as a mom, I know how hard it is, so we acknowledge it more, and we see more how much you actually work.
This is such a timely thing, and I can't think of anybody better than you who represents, who embodies compliance and ethics together.
I very humbly accept the award for exemplary contribution to the compliance ecosystem and for championing the cause of compliance by choice. I thank Suhas, Legacies, and the jury for conferring this award. I'm particularly touched that the invite has been extended to my family members. I would really congratulate from the bottom of my heart Legacies for hosting awards for compliance and holding a symposium for the GRACE leaders for the last 10 years. I'm delighted to know that the forum is compliance 10 by 10, which really means that compliance is not negotiable. And I must say, this is something which is so rarely emphasized or celebrated for that matter, which you all are doing. In the end, governance, risk, and compliance are the nuts and bolts that keep an entity together over a long term. May not sound exciting, but critical to survival and sustainability of every company. Compliance function is considered exogenous to the firm, that it's an imposition from authorities and therefore considered more as a cost center or as a burden. But we are all aware that regulations are necessary to protect the interests of several stakeholders and also in public interest. At the same time, there is need to review rules to ensure that they continue to deliver the desired outcomes. And I think here the role of Legacies is really outstanding for having first brought together all the legislation together, and then that really helps one in reviewing them to see the relevance of these rules in the current context. There is also greater need for stringent and prompt enforcement in cases where there are violations. That also is absolutely necessary. While issues of compliance, conduct, and ethics are relevant for all companies, I would just like to address this in the context of banking organizations, because that's where I come from. And in any event, each one of us have a vested interest since all of us deal with banks. Banks are considered special and hence are among the highly regulated companies in the world. With the rise in fintech and other intermediaries, banking functions are no longer the exclusive preserve of banks. Even then, banks will remain special so long as they're highly leveraged and intermediate unsecured deposits received from public that are payable on demand. They lend claims on their own debt and public accept those debt claims as money. They are also an integral part of the payment and settlement system. And the largest stakeholders in the bank are therefore the depositors. And that you will appreciate that it is not understood well, particularly when so many discussions happen on the interest cost or the burden of interest on the borrowers, that eventually it's the depositors that are funding the bank. The compliance function in a bank is a backstop for ensuring that the regulatory and supervisory standards are implemented coherently, consistently, and in the right spirit. Increasingly, compliance is being addressed on the same level of governance and risk, which are now taking center stage in banks. There continues to be considerable debate on the optimal regulatory regime in financial services, that is between rules-based and principles-based. In reality, the distinction is not so clear-cut. In fact, most regulatory systems contain a mix of rules and principles. Rules may become more principle-like through the addition of qualifications and exceptions, whereas principles may become more rule-like by the addition of best practices and governance, or best practices and requirements. I think the main difference is that rules define the boundaries ex ante, whereas a principle is settled ex post when compliance is being audited. However, while there is considerable discussion on the nature of the regulatory regime and the burden and cost of regulation, it's equally important going forward to focus on ensuring that compliance goes beyond what is legally binding and embrace broader standards of integrity and ethical conduct to maintain reputation and win the trust of depositors, investors, and regulators. And I would say this is what constitutes good compliance and not mere compliance. Fortunately, organizations recognize it is important to take steps to ensure that the activities of their employees remain within the law and more broadly accord with the values of probity, customer service, and ethical conduct. A good compliance culture can benefit banks in several ways in terms of low organization risk, low reputation risk, enhancing confidence for employees, and even attracting the right quality of talent. Banking organizations also need to create an environment of psychological safety where employees can speak up, challenge groupthink, and escalate concerns. Essentially, employees look for management to set the tone on how it operates. Senior leaders in the organization must exhibit behavior consistent with the bank's values, core values actually. Additionally, behaviors throughout the organization that do not align with the culture must be identified, corrected, and even punished wherever necessary. Employees look to their leaders for inspiration and direction, and they will observe how the decisions or actions are handled by the management and the board, and whether matters are handled in a way that is consistent with the value system and cultural norms. Finally, compliance culture and ethics is not just a function of the compliance department, but has to be embedded at all levels of the organization, including middle management and frontline businesses. The major challenge is to entrench culture and conduct risk management practices in the first line of defense to ensure a fully functional 3 lines of defense. This is necessary for banks and banking's economic and social sustainability. Thank you very much.
Our next awardee is an Indian business journalist and author. Was conferred the prestigious Padma Shri for journalism. Has been a member of the Investor Education and Protection Fund of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for 6 years, where she fought hard for corporate governance and ethics. She is now the managing editor of Moneylife magazine, which is responding to the poor financial literacy in India. Put your hands together for Miss Sucheta Dalal. I'd like to congratulate both our winners once again.
Hi everybody. Thank you very much. I'm extremely honored to be receiving this trophy from Legacies. I've been hearing about this awards ever since they were instituted by Suhas Tulzapurkar, and never thought I was going to be one of the recipients. I'm also particularly kicked about getting this award for contributing to the compliance space. I mean, I've always felt that I have not been able to, contribute much because nothing ever happens. Making anything change in India is such a Herculean task, and there is so much to be done. The other thing that I'm very intrigued about is to get this from a law firm and from someone in the legal space. I think all of us who are in any kind of activism or journalism have been thinking very deeply about the law and where we are headed in terms of our legal systems and our judiciary. And in all the cases that I have been taking up in recent times, we sort of come to a halt somewhere at the regulatory level or at the legal level. So it's very nice that Legacies has maybe thought through things, which is why they've thought that maybe what I do, which is fight with everybody to get some kind of justice for investors, depositors, shareholders, is something that maybe the legal community wants to think about and work further to find a way to make things work for people, because ordinary people end up at the doors of the courts, and then it is slow, expensive, and a broken system, and we need to fix that. So thank you very much again, and I'm very honored to receive this, and I look forward to some changes happening led by Legacies in the coming days. Thank you.